It's a very good morning to the Gelding. Gelding, welcome back to me after an extended break.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Yes, good to be back, Professor. Good to have you back from the land of stars and stripes, where you've spent a glorious 3 or 4 weeks, Professor.
It was 4 weeks, Gelding.
Well, would you like to fill the viewers in on what you did in the land of USA?
Oh,
Did you go to any Donald Trump meetings?
no, I didn't.
Did you go to any horse races?
No.
Well, what did you do, Professor?
Well, I enjoyed the good weather, Gelding, unlike here where the temperature ranged between about 28 degrees centigrade and about 34 degrees centigrade for the 26 days I was away. So 8 degrees and raining when I got back to Tullamarine on Sunday last week.
Welcome back, Professor.
Yeah, well, we didn't do too badly while I was away. I managed to keep track of the way racing was going.
Yes, we've done okay. So hopefully now back on board, we can get some the listeners into some fine horses at Caulfield today, Professor.
And I believe
what did you do? Come on, quick, tell us. Baseball?
Went to a few games of baseball, but basically did nothing. Just enjoyed a rest for a change, Gelding. But enjoyed the break with good weather.
The shorts and the polos, Professor, was it?
Shorts and polo shirt for the whole time, Gelding.
Hope to be in that position this time next Saturday, Professor.
Well, I was just about to say you're taking a well-earned break as well.
Yes, not as big a break as you had, Professor. I'll just be missing the 2 Saturdays. Next Saturday, be flying out to Bali to get some to sun on the back. I'm already thinking about the pool and at the resort we're staying at. So, looking forward to it, Professor.
Oh, it sounds magnificent, Gelding. I'm pleased that you're able to get away at this time of the year into a better climate.
Well, that's it. And a few nice restaurants booked already, Professor.
Oh, wonderful, Gelding. All right, well, look, how about we look at today's races, because you might fill up so that you can afford to eat at those very good restaurants. Racing today's Gelding at Caulfield, a 9-race program. The first at 11:50 a.m. The feature race, the Sir John Monash Stakes, a weight for age Group 3 race over 1,100 metres. And Monash, Gelding, our alma mater,
Yes.
McKinnon High School. Monash was Red House.
Red House, and I was a member of the Monash Red House, Professor, but my recollection, and remember this is over many years ago, you were known for wearing a yellow T-shirt under the guise of the head of the Kingsford Smith alumni.
Yeah, Gelding, do you realise that that's 50 years ago?
Yeah.
Exactly 50 years ago.
And why did you choose Kingsford Smith? Did you like the yellow?
No, Gelding.
You didn't like the red of Monash?
Well, a couple of mates of mine went into Blue House, and that was Flynn.
Yes.
But I chose Kingsford Smith because the house captain of Kingsford Smith at the time that I started at the school was a gentleman by the name of Sid Catlin.
Right.
Who at that stage was playing for Melbourne.
Oh, so it was the Melbourne influence, was it?
Definitely, Gelding. Why wouldn't I, as a mad Melbourne supporter, join the house that's got a Melbourne player as their house captain? Now, how good is that? He was still going to McKinnon High and playing for Melbourne in the seniors.
Sensational. And now, my memory, like 50 years ago, gets a bit vague and things like that. So my recollection is to become the leader of Kingsford Smith.
Yes.
You might have put some knife wounds into another Melbourne player that came on to become president of the Melbourne Cricket Club as well.
No knife wounds, Gelding. It was a fair.
No knife wounds.
It was a school election, voted on by the students who made up Kingsford Smith.
Okay. Well, you weren't. I heard there might have been a bit of
Uh,
teacher manoeuvring?
no,
No?
no teacher manoeuvring. I was promised by my physics teacher that I wouldn't pass physics if I didn't put my name down. My name down as part of the election. That might be a bit controversial these days, Gelding, but
Well, it would be. That would be all over social media.
well, I was asked to put my name down by our form teacher, and I said no. He didn't like me saying no.
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
So, yeah,
it's all good history, Gelding.
Oh, that's very good, Professor. But more importantly, Caulfield today.
Yes, track's a soft 6. Will there be showers? Look out that window, Gelding. You're just down the road from the track. What's happening?
Just down the road from the track, Professor, there was rain last night and a lot of wind. Yeah, a lot of wind. So, and that was coming from Caulfield, not inside the house, Professor.
I was going to say, Gelding, the way you put that, I did say this morning on Twitter that if you wanted some humour with your race tips, people should tune in. Well, we're certainly giving it to them.
It's very good, Professor. So, look, pattern of racing going to be unknown. The track, this is the second meeting with the newly laid turf, Professor. I noticed the rail has gone out 3 metres.
What was the bias last time, Gelding?
Well, it started off okay, Professor, but it rained during the meeting, and a lot of jockeys were reporting after about race 4 or 5 that the inside was cutting up with the new turf just coming out. And initially, the first couple of races, you had to be leader or on pace. But then later in the day, as it cut up, I think it was coming down the centre of the track, Professor, kind of being in that midfield, 3 or 4 back, and then sweeping down the midfield. So it was a bit of everything last time. And with this rain around, I think you might get that later in the day as well. Not raining at the moment, but as soon as it rains, I think it will start cutting up. And I notice the first race is, 10 to 12. So I think by the time the main race comes around at 4:10 in race 8, it may be better for looking for horses that can come down the centre of the track. And I think we might have hopefully found a couple, Professor.
All right, Gelding, what are your 2 best bets for today's meeting?
Well, Professor, as you well know, and as listeners well know, it's well known that I do love backing horses from the Blue Army. They're good horses. I've just placed in the right type of races. So I'm going 2 horses trained by James Cumming and to be ridden by Ben Melham, who's been riding very, very well. He's certainly up there in the jockeys premiership in the top 6 or 7 riders, Professor. But apart from Damien Oliver, most of those jockeys, Blake Shin suspended, Jamie Carr still out injured, but now in more trouble. As I told you before, Professor, now charged over that white powder incident, will be facing a racing tribunal. Who else is there? Mickey D's over in Hong Kong. Damien Lane's over in Japan. So, look, a lot of our good jockeys are away, Professor. So, Ben Melham will be one of the smarter riders, hopefully, riding there today. So, the horses I like, Professor, are race 6, number 2, Brigantine. This horse was also entered in Sydney, Professor. The Blue Army have decided to scratch it from Sydney and race it here. This horse last start ran 3rd in a listed race over the Brisbane Carnival to Muramek, beaten just on 2 lengths. before that had won at Doomben over set weights over 1350. Today's race is 1400 Professor. It had a trial up at Canterbury under no pressure, ran second. So I think Brigantine will race very well today. Race 6, number 2, Professor. The next bet in the main race is Sir John Monash. I've gone for race 8, number 1, Ingratiating. Professor, I think this will be the bet of the day. This horse is a Group 1 level performer. Down in a Group 3 race. First up, its form is fantastic. It's had 5 starts first up for 3 wins and a second. 20 starts for 4 wins, 5 seconds and 3 thirds, Professor. Just under $1.8 million in prize money. This is a very, very good horse that has been racing in Group 1. So, look, its last 2 starts haven't been impressive, last and 13th, but, you know, they've been against Giga Kick and Private Eye in an all-age stakes. A TJ Smith. Then it ran, my apologies. The 15th of October, it was the Everest, and then it ran 13th at Newcastle, and they've put it out, given it a good break. So it's got good form around Flemington. So I'm hoping that James Cumming can get us a nice double today, Professor. And you like?
Yeah, Gelding, I'm going a little bit earlier than you. Bit worried about the track, and like any new track, prone to move around, especially if there's some wet weather. So I've gone for race 3, the Toolbox Handicap, Gelding, 3-year-old race for over 2,000 metres. In that race, I like horse 4, Art Zeno, coming out of barrier 10. It's had 6 starts for a win and 2 placings. So modest return there, Gelding, but lightly raced. 17% win rate, 50% place rate. Now, its last start, Gelding, it ran 5th. It ran over the same distance. It was ridden by apprentice Wiremu Pin. Now, I won't use your words about what Wiremu Pin did to the horse, but let me say I've seen better rides. I had a look at the tape, Gelding. This horse ran 3,000 metres in a 2,000 metre race, and it still finished 5th of 14. So,
and only beaten 2 lengths, Professor.
Yes, Gelding. And today we've got Bo Mertens aboard, so I think we might get a better run for our money. Mick Price and Michael Kent Jr. training. Our former trainers, Gelding, or one of our former trainers. We've had a few trainers, Gelding.
We've had a few, haven't we, Professor?
We certainly have.
I do like our current trainer, though.
Yes, the informed Mr. Moody.
Yes, waiting on some news on that GG, but go ahead, yes. We're still happy with the services of Mick Price.
Oh, yes, very happy.
Very good trainer.
Very good trainer. A career win rate of 16%, which is not shabby. Bo Mertens in career form at the moment, 10% win rate over his last 50. So at $3.60 and $1.60 Gelding, I think very good value. So I'd recommend punters get on Art Zeno in race 3. My second selection, Gelding, race 5, the No Place Handicap, benchmark 78 race over 1,400 metres. And I like in that race, horse number 3, River Plate, Gelding, coming out of barrier 11, 16 starts for 4 wins and 6 placings, a 25% win rate, a 63% place rate. It won last up at Sandown 3 weeks ago, Gelding, and winning form is good form. Its second up form is also good, Gelding. It's had 3 starts for a win and a third. So I'm pretty confident it'll go well today. It's won over the distance, $4.20 and $1.90, Gelding. There's a lot to like about that bet for place each way punters.
Professor, my form is showing a little bit different than yours then. Second up, it's showing 2 starts for a win and a second.
Well, I better check my form guide, Gelding.
That's even better. And of course, over 1,400, which is today's race. Out of its 4 wins, 2 of them have been over 1,400. So
Yeah.
I think this is a very savvy bet, Professor.
All right, and Celine Gaudray is in the saddle. She's got a career 10% win rate, and Cranbourne trainers Trent Basutin and Natalie Young have got a 13% win rate, so that's excellent. So at $4.20 and $1.90, Gelding, almost money back each way.
Yes, Professor, and spot on with your comments with the jockey and the trainer there. Celine Gaudray rode this horse last time. Can claim 2, but is riding in fine form. And Trent Busserton and Natalie Young partnership are always in the top half a dozen trainers, Professor, in Victoria since coming over from New Zealand. So, yeah, as I said, very, very savvy. And race 5, Professor, drawn a bit ordinary out wide in barrier 13, but that may be the place to be if a bit of rain comes, out a bit wider.
Yes, Gelding. All right, so my 2 selections for the day, race 3, horse 4, Art Zeno, race 5, horse 3, River Plate. Now, let's turn to the very, 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 very successful Professor's Parlay, which we got up several times while I was away, and including last week, where Renosu saluted.
Yes, Good Army horse again.
Yes, Adelaide beat North, and North Queensland Cowboys accounted very nicely for West Tigers. That game was all over very early on, Gelding.
Oh, over at halftime, Professor, I was talking to a West Sydney supporter in Sydney, and yes, well picked by you, Professor. Games that once we had the horse bet up, it was very easy watching for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, well,
Gelding,
we might say this. People might be very critical of our second and third selections in this parlay, but as we tell the punters, our role is to select a parlay that's going to win, not one that might pay very, very well.
Yeah, we don't want a piece of paper which tells us we could have won a lot of money and end up with nothing. And who would be? I'd have to query if people are worried about the selections, Professor. As we said, the aim is to pick winners, not to get odds. And with the success rate it's been having, I'm sure that they would rather be following winners. And if they're critical and they're not following it, maybe they're a little bit jealous.
They could be, Gelding. It could be jealousy.
Yeah.
In any event, let me just say that even with 2 very short, very, very short selections from the AFL in our parlay today, the Professor's Parlay, if it's successful, will return 5-1 for the win and 3-2 for the place.
Beautiful, Professor. I like it. So let's tell everyone what it is.
All right. So the agreed bet of the day, Gelding, is race 8, horse 1, Ingratiating. We're going for the Blue Army. That's currently showing $3.70. And let's parlay that into today at 1:45 p.m. Brisbane to beat West Coast. I think that's a Monty. Brisbane third on the ladder. They've won 11 from 15 games. They've got the best points differential in the AFL, plus 314. West Coast, on the other hand, have got the worst. They've won 1 game out of 14, Gelding. Minus 923 points differential, and they're stone motherless last.
Yep. Even though it improved performance last week, but of course that was over in WA. So, yeah, but going down to Geelong, I think there's, just a hiding waiting down there, isn't there?
There is, and we'll parlay that into Geelong to beat North Melbourne, Gelding. Geelong, 9th at the moment. They've won 7, lost 7 and drawn 1. North Melbourne, 17th, very disappointing. They've got the next worst points differential of minus 503. So with only 2 wins for the season, I can't see them getting over the top of Geelong tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. So the parlay is race 8, horse 1, Ingratiating, into Brisbane to beat West Coast today, into Geelong to beat North Melbourne tomorrow.
And my apologies for getting mixed up. I meant Brisbane when I said Geelong, Professor.
It's a longer trip. It's a longer trip for West Coast to Brisbane. It's the longest one going around, Gelding.
Yes, and Brisbane in fine form after I watched them slaughter my Tigers the other week.
Long way to go for a thrashing, Gelding.
It is, isn't it?
All right, Gelding. That's all for that's racing today. Tomorrow, Sports Fan Radio
The boys are back.
is back after 4 weeks on the Pine. We're bringing it back.
And who's there, Professor, tomorrow?
Well, we've got a very special guest tomorrow, Gelding. We've got Dr. Alan Pearce, who's going to be talking about concussion and the ramifications of the first woman professional sports person to be diagnosed with CTE.
Going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Very much so, Gelding. So am I.
Right up the judge's wheelcast, this, isn't it?
Well, the judge, I was talking to the judge yesterday and he said he'll be on that long a run that we'll have to ask the attendants at the MCG to open the gate because he's going to start outside the arena.
Wow. Wow. It'll be, okay, we'll look forward to that one. And, of course, hopefully we've got the giraffe on board.
Yeah, the giraffe will be on board, Gelding. He'll be talking about his Rabbitohs, who are having a pretty ordinary season, actually.
Yeah, since a few injuries and a few missing during State of Origin has certainly cut them up, hasn't it?
Well, they should have a win, Gelding. They're playing my Bulldogs,
Well,
who've had one of the worst seasons going around. They're not on the bottom, but they should be.
yeah, but didn't the giraffe pick his Rabbitohs to win the whole kick and caboodle?
Yeah, they're only 7th at the moment, Gelding. So perhaps we can ask him how that's going tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be a bit of fun. And he hasn't been talking on radio for 4 weeks.
No, so I better have him on mute for a while.
And the judge is coming off the long run.
Yeah, you and I are just making up the numbers tomorrow, Gelding.
Okay, I better bring the paper and read it because I might not get a word in, Professor.
All right, Gelding. You've got the next 2 weeks off. So we will be having That's Racing, but I'll be doing it by myself. So you'll have to semaphore in your tips to me so that I can get them out.
Yes, we'll do. This time next week, Professor, it'll be a bit hard to communicate from the plane.
No, I know that, Gelding. So no doubt you'll give me some indication of what you might be interested in before you leave.
I'll certainly be texting you on Friday.
All right, Gelding. Until I see you next time, it's good luck.
And good punting.